Hello. All right, parents. Let's talk about one of the most exhausting mealtime battles, keeping your toddlers in their seat long enough to actually eat. So you finally get them to the table, but before you can even take a bite, oops, sorry, my camera just went down on me. But before you can even take a bite, your toddler is running all around, climbing under the table, standing on their chair, sprinting away mid-meal, refusing to sit at all. So if mealtimes feel like this never-ending game of chase, drop something in the comments to let me know. It could be a yes, that's me, whatever you're feeling for tonight. But I have a simple game-changing trick for you. One that actually keeps your toddler seated at the table without begging or bribing. So, welcome to Toddler Tip Tuesday Live. I'm Jess, and today we're talking about the mealtime job strategy, which is a super simple way to help your toddler stay seated at meals. So, before we jump into the solution, let's quick talk about why toddlers struggle to sit still at meals to begin with. So, first of all, toddlers crave independence. Sitting still with no purpose for them is just so boring. They lose their interest quickly. Meals don't hold their attention like playtime would, and they just love to test limits. That's what toddlers do, right? If they can get up and wander, they absolutely will. They have tons of energy to burn in those little bodies, and some toddlers just simply need a lot more movement and engagement. So instead of forcing them to sit, let's give them a reason to stay seated. And that's where this strategy comes in. I call it the mealtime job trick. So step one is to assign them a simple mealtime job. So before the meal even starts, give them like an official job at the table. Some examples could be like the napkin paper passer outer, they get to hand out napkins to everyone at the table. It could be the spoon counter. So they have to make sure that everyone has a spoon at the table and they're responsible for counting. So you're getting some of those math skills in too. You could have the plate inspector. They check to make sure that every food has the plate on it and that you can even have it be so that the plate is like sitting in a certain spot in front of them. You could have something like a mealtime announcer. So you get to say, dinner's ready, let's eat. Any type of job or activity like that will make them feel like they have a job. It was probably going to work. And the reason why is because toddlers love feeling important. So you're giving them a job. To you, it doesn't really seem like a big job, but to them, just being able to check for spoons and count to make sure everyone has a spoon, it's a huge job to them, and it gives them a reason to stay at the table. So your second step. So sorry, something just came up on my screen. So second step is to introduce the job in a way that matters. So instead of just assigning it, you have to make it kind of fun. So one thing I like to do is kind of like, I call them like magic phrases, but they're not really that magical, but that's what I call them. But using words like super important job or, oh my God, I have such an important task for you, and put the emphasis on like the word super and important, and it will work wonders with them. You can even say something like, well, only this is a job that only the best helpers get to do, and you're more likely to get their buy-in. You could try like, wow, you get to be the official spoon counter tonight. That's a huge deal. You're so lucky. Or you could even say something like, guess what? You're the official cup checker. You're checking to make sure that every cup is filled tonight. Now, it seems silly, but to a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old, it is the greatest job in the world. And just putting a little bit more enunciation and emotion on those words gets all their buy-in. Why? Because it makes the job sound so super exciting to them, and they're so much more likely to buy into it and stay engaged to do the job. Your third step is going to be to kind of keep them engaged during the meal. So once they're actually at the table, you want to find a way to try to keep that job going. Like I said, if they're responsible for making sure everyone has a spoon, now have them count them. And then you can talk about the colors of the spoon and bring in other skills and work on language skills, but just different activities to keep them engaged at the table, building on that initial job. You could also praise their efforts. You could say like, oh, you're doing such a great job as the plate inspector tonight. Everyone's plate looks amazing. The food looks perfect. And then if they're getting like super wiggly, you can kind of redirect that behavior and say like, hey, before you wiggle yourself away, can you go do X, Y, and Z? You can have them be like, if they were the plate checker, now they have to check be the cup checker, and kind of extend their job beyond what it initially was. Oh, you passed out the napkins. Now can you go check if everyone's actually using them? Or at the end of the meal, like, oh, did you check to make sure all the napkins ended up in the trash can? Whatever it might be, to kind of extend that job throughout the meal. This works because you're giving them the task in smaller chunks, which then keeps them more focused and it prevents them from losing interest throughout the meal. The fourth step to this is kind of how you decide to close out your meal. So you might want to say, oh, your job isn't finished until it's officially done. I'm going to give you a special task at the end of the meal to kind of keep them thinking about it. And then you could say something like, okay, napkin passer, your final job is, I need you to make sure that all the napkins made it into the trash can. Or if you're doing the plate inspector, oh, plate inspector, one last task. Can you make sure that you carry this plate over to the sink? And again, for a 2-year-old, maybe not so much, but for more like a 3 or 4-year-old, you might be able to do that. So these are going to kind of, my examples are going to depend on your child and where they are and their age and whatnot, but kind of think through what they are able to do and kind of extend it that way. And this works just because having a type of official end to it will then help your toddler transition away from the table smoothly. Transitions are hard for toddlers, so you want to kind of, as you keep this going, keep in mind that you want to have like an end to it, like an official end, so to speak. Now, thinking about our principles of child development and why this entire thing works, it's not just a fun trick, there's some actual science behind it, the mealtime jobs. It gives toddlers a sense of purpose. It makes them want to stay at the table longer because they're engaged, because they have something they feel is important to do. It also encourages their independence. Toddlers crave autonomy and independence. So you're giving that to them while building their confidence and keeping them at the table. And then you're also kind of turning mealtime into like a responsibility for them instead of a fight. So they want to stay seated. They're more engaged. They ultimately want to feel that sense of responsibility and that they're pleasing you. And then also it just helps to create like positive mealtime habits. The more they get to do it, the better they get at it. So you want to stay consistent with it, and you want to keep giving them opportunities to do these jobs for you at the table and to shine. Now, what if they don't stay seated? So my troubleshooting tips for you is to make the job even more exciting if you can, whether that means adding a type of sticker chart to it, some type of small reward. You can also make the actual transition to the table more fun. So, for example, you could attach a song to it. I know we've talked about that on other transitions on other Toddler Tip Tuesdays, but you could attach an alarm to it, a song to it, some type of special dinner bell, whatever you want to use. You could also let them pick their own jobs. You could give them a choice. I have mealtime job cards that are for ages 2 to 8, I believe, on my website. I can drop a link to them. They're a little bit more detailed than these ones. I'm thinking mainly these ones are more like for 2 to 3-year-olds, but you could make something similar and even write them on scraps of paper or just verbally give them a choice depending on where their language skills are to kind of make them feel in control. Like, do you want to be the cup checker tonight or the plate checker? Or do you want to be our spoon counter? Or do you want to be in charge of filling the water cups? Whatever it might be. What you don't want to do, though, is do not force them to sit still for too long. Toddlers cannot, and I think that's a mistake so many of us, myself included, have made. You want to keep meals short and structured, 15 to 20 minutes max. That's the most their little bodies can truly handle. You want to also avoid bribing them with dessert. it leads to power struggles, and there's a lot of research coming out about attaching rewards to desserts like that. So be mindful of that. And you also don't want to make the job feel so much like a chore. You want to keep it more fun and lighthearted and engaging to kind of get their buy-in so they want to keep doing it. So your action plan for this week is to choose a couple simple mealtime jobs for your toddler. Introduce the concept to them in an exciting way, kind of get them interested, wanting to do it. Engage them during the meal by praising their work for whatever job that is, and then give them the closing task. And I want you to try it. And if you do, let me know how it goes, because I love hearing all about your success stories, what worked, what didn't work, how we can tweak it. And so now we're going to open this up to our live Q&A. So give me 1 second so I can pull in my comments so I can see. All right, and then I have a couple questions ready that I got, because I always send this out in an email each week, and I also post on social media, so sometimes I get questions from DMs and then from email responses. But one question I had was, what if my toddler refuses the job? So that's a possibility. So to try to avoid that, you can't avoid it 100%. There is no strategy that will work 100% of the time for 100% of toddlers, because toddlers are toddlers. But you want to avoid it by trying to give them a choice. So if you think that may happen, try to cut them off by giving them a choice of 2 different things. Would you rather be the spoon counter or the cup checker tonight? And see if that works. Another question we had was, how long should they be sitting at the table? We kind of already talked about this, but 15 to 20 minutes. And if you are not able to get your toddler to sit for that long, start in smaller chunks. Start with 5 minutes and work your way up. But 15 to 20 minutes usually is max for a toddler. And then you can use a visual timer to help if you need to. Another question was, okay. So what if they do their job, but they still don't leave the table? So just keep praising them for completing it, and then gently encourage them to sit for a few more minutes if you can, a few more bites, and then really try to, my best suggestion beyond this is to really start engaging your toddler in conversation. Even if they can't talk and their language skills are not there yet, talking during meals is so important because it helps develop those language skills. But even more important than that, something that I think with the increase in technology and people on computers and different things is we start to lose that face-to-face interaction. And kids, I know this from teaching in the classroom, they kind of lose the ability to have conversation as an exchange, a back and forth exchange. So the more you can talk to your toddlers, the better they will be, because they will be able to develop some of those skills that are needed. But so keep them talking, even if you just have to help give them the words, like, oh, well, let's describe our food. And if they can't, is it crunchy or is it soft, and kind of like talk them through that. But keep redirecting them. That would be my other suggestion. Just keep redirecting them. Oh, like, let's check what's on your plate too. Another question I had was, this is a good one. Can I use this method at restaurants? Yes, you absolutely can. You just kind of have to modify it for the setting that you're in. So you might not be able to have a napkin pass router. It depends on the restaurant, but they could be the official menu holder. They could describe pictures on the menu for everyone at the table. So you kind of have to play that one by ear and see, and it depends on the restaurant setting, but you absolutely can do it. Another question that came in was, what if my toddler gets bored of the job? Rotate them, give them different options, come up with different jobs. If you need suggestions, you can email me, you can DM me. I always answer, myself, I'm the one answering, and I will give you some suggestions if you tell me your situation of some jobs you can use. But definitely rotate the jobs and keep trying them, because you'll find some that they like. And you can also attach like bonus tasks mid-meal to kind of keep their interest, just something you can kind of throw in there in the middle of a meal to kind of, that'll always be changing, so it kind of keeps them like, oh, what's going to come with my job this time. Let me put my note real quick. Okay, another question I had was, what if my toddler rushes through their job? So if they rush through, try to slow them down. You can even add in some extra steps, like if the cup checker, since we talked about that one, you can actually have them make sure that the cup's in the right spot at the table, or it's always on a certain side of the plate, or I'm trying to think of some other jobs. If they're a napkin passer, you can have them fold the napkins. So if you find that they're rushing through doing it, have them fold the napkins in half before handing them out, something like that. And then another question, let me say, okay, sorry, I'm just trying to look and say, what if my toddler still wants to get up and wander mid-meal? That was a good one. You, again, just gently redirect them, but also keep in mind there could be a couple things going on if it's consistently happening no matter what. One thing could be they could be full and they could be done. You could have to try to work up to that 15 to 20 minute increment. That could be something that's going on. And it could also just be that they have a lot of energy. So you might want to, before dinner, kind of find ways to get that energy out, whether you quick have them like dance or stomp like a dinosaur on their way to the table, something like that, to kind of get some of that energy out, because that does happen with toddlers. And then let me just check here. Okay, my last one is what if I forget to assign a job before the meal starts? Been there, done that. I get it. No worries. Happens to all of us, right? We're moms, we're busy, we are going 1,000 miles an hour. Don't worry about it. Give them a job mid-task. Give them a task mid-meal. Sorry, it's late. And you can just even say like, oh no, we completely forgot. I can't believe we forgot. We need to make sure everyone has a drink. Can you help me? Can you stay at the table and help me make sure everyone has a drink? I need you to be my emergency cup checker or something like that. And usually they don't skip a beat. They kind of just like buy right into that and just get going with you. So just make it urgent and it'll seem so exciting to them. But all right, so that is it for our questions. Thank you so much for joining us this week on our live. And if mealtime battles have been wearing you down, try this simple shift. It does make a huge difference with getting them to stay at the table. Try the mealtime job trick tonight. Let me know how it goes. You can DM or email me. You can tag me on Instagram at Raising My Teenage Toddler. I love hearing all about it. And don't forget, join me next week live at 8 p.m. again for another Toddler Tip Tuesday. Until then, happy eating. Have a good night.